Make no mistake, everything when it comes to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle right now is about promoting Meghan Markle. There is really no couple aspect to them in many ways because all their business ventures and even the focus of their website is really about promoting Meghan. And by far, Harry, I believe, is the more bankable of the two of them. He still has somewhat a likability factor more than she does. And he was very popular, obviously, before he met and married her. So I think overall, Harry is the more bankable of the two. He's also the one with the actual title. But somehow it seems like every single deal that Harry and Meghan have struck recently really only has Meghan's name on it. Even their website, just Meghan. And a review on their website is just in Meghan's name. She's the one who signed it. So I think the real big question here as things come about is, what does the future hold for the two of them? Is Meghan Markle setting Prince Harry up for a future divorce where she essentially gets everything? Because when it comes to their business ventures and everything, they very much told us they were like salt and pepper. They have at their desk in their home, they have chairs that are side by side that look like thrones according to the cut, and that they work on everything together. But I think the truth is somewhat different. I think it's all there to serve Meghan, not Harry. And at the end of the day, once perhaps the divorce comes about, Harry will find himself holding a big old pile of nothing, as Meghan Markle is going to essentially probably end up taking a good chunk of whatever they made because she's really the only one that's working. And we even saw this reflected in the Invictus Games recent tour, where Meghan was, of course, front and center. And of course, Harry was there catering to her. But this is what Meghan Markle has probably set up from the jump, is for Prince Harry to eventually essentially give her all he has in the world, because everybody must serve Meghan, because it is always all about Meghan. So we'll be talking about this today, but if you guys haven't been to Royal News Network, my name is Brittany. I provide y'all compelling royal commentary about the latest news, sometimes a little bit of the drama going on behind the scenes. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, that would be fantastic. We've had some awesome growth the last couple of weeks, and I'm really hoping to make it by early March to 150,000 subscribers. That would be the 2nd year anniversary of when I started uploading on the channel. So again, I would just love to have you guys back here. We'll be talking so much, and I'm hoping to launch something in a couple of weeks that I'm hoping will be really, really enjoyable for so many. And I also have an upcoming trip to Scotland, which is fitting because I wore green. I know it's not in the flag, but I love Scotland. It is a beautiful, beautiful country. So if you are thinking about going and hanging out with other royal enthusiasts, we will have tons of fun. We will be going all over Scotland. It'll be a week in mid-July. I would love to have you join us if you want to hit the link. And down below, I'll put one up above too, and you can come on this trip with us because you will have a fabulous and amazing time with some amazing people, hopefully make some new friends, because I know, because I was there, that sometimes your family members and friends are just like, do I really have to hear about this Harry and Meghan stuff again? But you can find a whole bunch of people who feel the exact same way, and you can all talk about it, which I think is fantastic. So feel free to go ahead and check that out. We'll also we had the initial plan. We'll also try to think of a couple things we can do in free time if people are interested. So I'm really excited for that as well. Okay, so let's get into this, because I had this idea initially, and I was actually going to do a video today on their PDA, and I will talk about that. But I really thought, as I was looking through, it's just so much of what kept hitting me is that everything Harry does must focus on Meghan. And Meghan has created this entire brand around them. All their business arrangements are all about her. And there could be a couple reasons for this. And to play devil's advocate, I will say, number one, Harry does not strike me as a super bright guy. And when it comes to their Spotify deal, Harry, apparently his ideas were so good that you really need to get this guy from Spotify, and he will share with you all the crazy stories of Prince Harry and trying to get this guy to come up with a podcast, which he failed at. Spotify would not give Harry the green light because they're like, yeah, those ideas are kind of dumb, bud. They just aren't going to work. And so I sometimes feel like Harry is just not as bright as Meghan, although I think Meghan has made so many dumb mistakes as well in her pursuit of fame and fortune, but Harry's not the brightest bulb either. So it's kind of a interesting combination. So I understand though why perhaps William Morrison Endeavor and Lemonada just didn't really want to go with Harry, because Meghan, you could say, oftentimes is the brains behind the operation. But there's inherent danger here that I think Prince Harry is probably not aware of. And that is that when it comes to all their business stuff, at some point, pretty much everything will be in Meghan's name. So if they lose out on Netflix, then Harry and Meghan will be floundering, and Harry's name will not be on any other major deals except for maybe their publication, because they still have, I think, a couple of books maybe for their publication deal. But the other big thing they have is Netflix. Harry also has Better Up, Travelist, a couple of other things I'm sure are not bringing in that much money. If Netflix goes, Harry and Meghan are just beyond screwed. They just are. So they really need Netflix or somebody else to fund their multiple endeavors. But Netflix is the last big thing Harry has his name on. And so if that goes away, within the business realm that Harry and Meghan have, what is Harry's name on? His name is really not on that much. And so you already get the sense, especially with the website, that they are slowly moving the needle towards Meghan and solely focusing on her. Because when I was looking through their website and looking through some pictures of the recent Canada event, what shocked me the most is that sometimes in the events, they have a picture that represents it, and they have the title of what the article is, which is very, very banal. They have this whole website and they don't give you diddly squat when it comes to information. It is very bland and banal. And so, but when it comes to this picture on Thank You Canada, who is in focus in that picture? It's a Meghan. Meghan's the one who's in focus, and Harry is sort of not totally out of focus, but he's a little bit fuzzier than she is, and she's looking up longingly and gazingly at him. And this is at their gala event towards the end of the trip. And I'm like, so this is Harry's event. Should it not be a picture of Harry with somebody from Invictus? Are there no pictures of Harry that can be sort of front and center? Because this is all about Harry. The Invictus Games, which I should mention is sort of the last big thing Harry has his name on, is his project. He is the one driving it. Yet somehow on their own website, his image takes a backseat to hers. Now you could say she's more photogenic than he is, but it should be something where Harry is in focus and he's there with other members of the Invictus team. That is what should be the focus there. But with Meghan there, oh no, that's not what happened. And let's go ahead and watch a little video of part of the Michael Bublé song. We'll cut a little bit here and there so we can get the quickly. And so you can see this little interaction between Harry and Meghan while Michael Bublé sings the song My Way, but has a little bit of different lyrics for Harry.
It's true, Harry, it's you. You follow through.
Okay, so number one, Meghan probably knows that there is a camera right behind her. And so when he says Harry, she goes, oh, like a very audible awe. And then she literally grabs the guy's face and starts she's like rubbing his chin or something. And I'm like, ooh, that's just a little too much. It's just, and you almost feel like he's moving away from her, but you almost like, I can't remember, it's a scene of a movie or a television show. Oh, I think it's maybe Friends or something. Yeah, it's the episode, it's like the first episode of the 4th season or something like that. And Jennifer Aniston, she's slapping David Schwimmer's face, and he's like, gets mad about it. But it's like supposed to be nice, but it's sort of like not nice at the same time. And I feel that there. It just seems so uncomfortable to me that she has to do this big, oh, Harry, and just like touch him in that way. It's not that she has to squeeze his hand or something. No. She's doing something very demonstrative that the camera can catch. It's not a subtle gesture, because I'm sure Catherine and William actually have little moments where they maybe squeeze each other's hand, and we just don't see it because it's done in a private moment, because it's not for public display. Because I'll get to this at the end, but everything about Meghan Markle is a performance, and I think this is no exception. She's very publicly doing it, knowing a camera is behind her, knowing the camera will catch her awe and her little, or whatever she's doing there. I really don't know what she's attempting to do. It's awkward, it looks weird, but it continues.
Stay the hell out of your way. This competition.
So again, And she does this very demonstrative move, slapping him on the shoulder. That one's a little bit, you could say, somewhat more natural, but then she leans into him and she does all this stuff that's very, very performative because it's all about Meghan. She can't let him shine. She can't quietly clap and giggle and stuff like that without sort of making a show of it. Because again, this is all about promoting Meghan. It's all about promoting Meghan. The Invictus Games has become the Meghan show. It's all about her all the time. And this instance is no exception. And of course, the website continues this. So in Invictus on Ice, you can see this picture right here. Meghan is the one who's sort of in full frame here. You could see a lot more of her than you can of Harry. And the competitor has their back to the camera, which is fine. But again, Harry is, you can feel like part of his face is obscured, like a very, very small portion, I would say. But Harry's face is very much sort of hidden here, whereas hers is front and center because again, the Harry and Meghan brand now is not about promoting them as a couple. No, Meghan has essentially dropped Harry. So the brand can focus on her because she thinks she's the one who's going to make him a ton of money. But she hasn't really exhibited any talent so far. In fact, her first solo foray was the Disastrous Archetypes podcast. Now, she did have the book, which was also a bit of a wreck, but her stuff is really not performed as well as his because at the end of the day, she's not the real royal and she's just not that interesting. Everything about Meghan Markle is, of course, a character. You very much never see the real Meghan, but it all has to be about Meghan. So it's just this weird conundrum thing going on. And then again, they're at another event. Meghan is front and center in focus in the pictures. And I've noticed this before, but I feel like it's become even more blatant. She's the one in focus of the picture here. She's the one who's hugging everyone because she always has to hug everybody. She has to show us how compassionate she is. And then there's another photo from this event where she's definitely, your eye tends to go to her because she's the more framed in the picture better. What I mean by that is the composition of the image draws your eye more to her than it does to Harry. And then there's this other one with them and a dog. And honestly, the first time I looked at it, I didn't even realize Harry was in the picture because Meghan was the one whose light was hitting her and Harry was in shadow with the dog. And I didn't see him. I did not recognize that it was him. I thought it was just Meghan. Then I looked there. I was like, that is Harry there. But again, it's so weird because this brand is supposed to be about the two of them. And yet somehow, some way, Meghan's crest is the one on the website and Meghan's biography is 200 words longer than his is. Has he accomplished nothing in his nearly 40 years of life? Because Meghan Markle hasn't achieved that much. She's married a rich guy who gave her everything she has. That's the basic foundations of it. Her sole thing she did sort of was Suits and her blog, The Tig, which was pretty bad, to be honest. I thought The Tig was not anything interesting. And it didn't do well, of course, until she met Harry. Everything Meghan has is because of a man, but she seems to not believe that and because she has to admire it and all this stuff that focuses on her. And when you look at the Invictus Games itself and this promo tour thing that they just did, there are very clear instances where I think Meghan Markle looks just simply bored with the whole thing. She's just like, yeah, you could just feel the boredom in her. And to be fair, perhaps sometimes it is a little boring, but this is your husband's event and honestly, you don't even need to be there. So why are you even there? So watch this interaction with her and two girls from the Invictus Games. I just feel like Meghan in this video is just smiling going, yeah, but you can tell she really doesn't care.
Not one beer.
Because as soon as she's not talking to them, her smile immediately totally drops and she looks sort of annoyed. And yes, perhaps the conversation wasn't to her liking, but again, she doesn't even have to be there. And you almost get the sense too is that she saw the way Michael Bublé and his wife are holding each other and she really wanted Harry to do the same, which is why we have those couple of pictures of her sort of grabbing his arm and then sort of locking her hands around him. Because again, they always have to be holding hands. This very demonstrative, performative aspect to their relationship is one that always irks me. There was actually a whole Telegraph article on it too. And I was like, yes, it talked about how she claims to be a feminist, yet yet she can't walk 2 steps without clinging on to her man. And the problem I have with this too is that because Meghan is there and because she demands a certain level of attention from Harry, his attention automatically goes to her. Now, watch him walking down after doing the skeleton bobsled race thing, and he has to look behind him and walk down with Meghan. And you can tell he's like putting a lot of distance between them. So I can't tell if he's really wanting to do this or not, but go ahead and take a watch here.
Oh, you right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Oh,
And I thought it was funny looking at this is that Meghan's like very tiptoeing like it's slick or something, but seems like everybody else is walking perfectly fine. It doesn't seem like anybody else is struggling quite as much as she is. So it's just, again, a question of, was she overperforming her difficulty in order to get Harry's attention? I don't know. And here's another bit with Harry coming down the bobsled thing. And let me know, do you think she's overacting here? Check it out.
very nice.
So personally, I think it's a bit of an overreaction from Meghan. Now, I will say I might have done the same thing, but I'm not the same person as Meghan. I tend to be very expressive in a lot of ways. I mean, I can be very quiet and introverted, but my family and friends will tell you I can be very extroverted in some ways too, and I can be very jumpy, like especially if I watch movies and stuff. I can be very jumpy. I've been well known for being like jumpy and annoying my family members by laughing too much, being too jumpy, all these sorts of things. So that is me. That just doesn't strike me as necessarily Meghan. But again, it has to be all about Meghan. So she performs because that is what she wants, and that's a reaction. She wants all the attention to be on her. Because make no mistake, this is Meghan Markle's greatest performance ever. Yeah, so yes, I feel like a lot of time we see Meghan Markle in public, to a certain extent, she is acting. And she overacts generally, so she acts badly. So when you see her do all these things, not only do we all know it's performative to a certain extent, but we also know that she was a pretty crummy actress. So when we see her do all these things, she is overacting. She overacted in her professional life and now in her private life too, because she doesn't need to do all these things to sell their love. These performative hand-holding, grasping gestures, because it tends to just ring as a little false, because Catherine and William don't do it. Yes, do they hold hands? Yes, do we not see them always holding hands? That is 100% true, but do I believe they do? Yes. Do they make a show of it? No. There's a reason why they don't. It's because people just generally don't need to see it. Catherine and William can be perfectly fine not holding hands in official engagements because there is a difference between public and private. Because I thought it was interesting too, as they were leaving dinner for Valentine's Day, pretty much all the time, Meghan and Harry have to be holding hands anytime they walk. Yet in a private moment, as they leave and they're walking down the staircase, now granted, it might not have been wide enough for both of them to walk down at the same time. They were walking down separately, weren't even holding hands until they get to the end. And you could tell Meghan wanted a little bit of help getting to the car because it's probably icy, which I don't necessarily blame her for. But I thought it was interesting because it's like, okay, after a Valentine's dinner in private, you guys don't seem to be as touchy-feely. Yet in public, you always seem to do that. There's even a video of Meghan adjusting Harry's cap as if he's 5. She treats him like a child. She really does. And I think he believes to a certain extent and enjoys her mothering to him. But at the same time as well, I'm sure it's getting bothersome too, but it's part of the performance Meghan has set out from them. It's been that way since the jump. The PDA is a performance concocted by Meghan Markle because Harry didn't cling on to his girlfriends before this, but he definitely clings on to her because it's what she demands. And so it's become part of his performative aspect too. I think he knows that he needs to do it, so even he does it when he maybe necessarily doesn't want to. And the problem too is it's become a distraction to him. There was a time where one of the Invictus guys was talking and Harry was on the outside and Meghan was on the inside, so in between the three of them, holding Harry's hand, listening to this guy, and I'm like, but it's Harry's event. He should be the one closest to the guy. But no, it always has to be about Meghan. Meghan always brings it back to her because that is where their brand is focused now. It's not focused on them as a couple. It's focused almost exclusively on Meghan Markle. So what does this mean for the future? Well, I think Meghan is already setting up a future without Harry. She's already setting up business ventures and various things where Harry's name is not attached. And so she can be the great success here, potentially, and she can establish herself without him. So at some point when they divorce, she walks away with these mega deals, and he's been languishing in Hollywood for years with really nothing to show for it. Like his one solo venture that he did sort of within their Hollywood realm was The Heart of Invictus, which wasn't great. It was okay, but it was just a convoluted mess in some ways. It lacked a cohesive narrative, which would have made it much better if it had one single narrative instead of had too many. So it just didn't seem to coalesce very well. Harry probably took a too prominent role in the beginning because in his mind, Invictus is really all about him. But when it comes to their relationship and public image, it's all focused on serving Meghan and her needs, not serving them as a couple. Because at the end of the day, Harry looked horrific in that Good Morning America interview. He was awful. It was a terrible interview on multiple levels. He was an awful interviewee. The interviewer struggled to get things out of him. So where was his PR? Because she has a whole PR team at WME there to focus on her, focus on Archewell, but they weren't there to focus on him. Who helped him? I don't think anybody helped him prep for that interview. Everybody needs interview prep. Interview prep is good, especially if you haven't done it in a while and you're expecting uncomfortable questions, which Harry received, and he couldn't answer well. I did a whole video on it if you want to check it out. It's sort of the last half of the video. But Harry there was an absolute disaster train wreck. But Meghan comes out of it looking good. She didn't talk at all, you might notice. She didn't talk at all. So she comes out of that looking slightly better, and Harry looks like the mess. Is she setting him up already to look like the mess, the disaster in their relationship, while she's the one trying to hold everything together? Because not only in Harry's book Spare did he divulge certain things like the fact that he was circumcised and that in fact at one point he had a frostbitten penis, which he did not need to tell anybody. Nobody cared about that, Harry. But he needed to tell us that, oh, and the Elizabeth Arden cream. Yeah, so he needed to tell us that. And so all these details of his life are there, and yet Meghan comes out sort of better. And in fact, they've sort of evened out. I think in the last poll, his dislike was higher technically than hers. Hers was more neutral. And there was a big problem there because once you're disliked, it's hard to get back into the liked column. But if you're neutral, you can move people between the two. So you have the potential to move them into the like column rather than them going down to the dislike column. So Meghan is positioning herself much better. She's allowed him to be this wreck, allowed him to admit to taking hallucinogenics, taking other drugs, all these sorts of things, and having anger issues. And she comes out of it looking like the saint who tried to tame the wild beast, essentially. Even though, I'm not saying Harry's a wild beast, but you understand sort of the metaphor is that she comes out of this looking much better because everything, whether Harry knows it or not, is there to serve whatever Meghan Markle's endgame is. And it's not him. It's not there to protect him. Nothing in that week at Invictus was there to protect Harry. Harry should have had a much better interview with GMA. I've been trained to do interviews. I've seen other people trained. So I know just from a PR public relations standpoint, it was a bad interview. It was objectively bad. And some of it was on the interviewer. I think he was really, really nervous. So this is Will Reeve. He's the son of Christopher Reeve. I think he was really nervous to offend Harry and Meghan because I think he was read the riot acts. It's like, don't you dare step out of line talking to them because they will get really, really mad. And so he had questions that he was allowed to ask Harry, but I think Harry had already given him sort of maybe the stink eye or something before the interview began because it was even very choppy on his end and other people have said he's good. And so I would just assume probably that they're right. But overall, the interview was a wreck, and it just didn't seem like there was anybody there to protect Harry. They're always there to protect Meghan, but nobody was there to protect Harry from his own mistakes. That interview should not have been as bad as it was. But no, the massive PR apparatus of WME is not there to protect Harry. It's not there to protect the Invictus Games. It's there to protect Meghan Markle and the future of Archewell, which is going to probably at some point be all in her name. Again, even the review about their new website on Article, the company that made their website, the review is written by Meghan. Why couldn't it be Harry and Meghan? And she was obviously the one who directed the website. Like, it's all about Meghan. Anytime you see Harry and Meghan do something, at some point, it's all going to be roped around to Meghan. It's either Meghan driven or it benefits Meghan. Check out in the future how many times actually it benefits her over him. I think we'll be shocked to see how much the needle is moved towards protecting Meghan and throwing Harry to the wolves as perhaps she begins to set up their divorce. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.